Hello again. I'm going to be launching into the explanation of some play ideas in just a second, but somebody sent me this email, so I wanted to address it. For the project, are we just making a bigger, more explanatory outline of what we want to write about? Also, are we supposed to write a thesis and add it to our project? And would a regular poster board be okay? So you do not need a thesis because a thesis is specific and argumentative. I want you to look at this more like an exploration. So if you considered a thesis statement to be, in John Knoll's Separate Piece, he gives the reader myriad impressions of the culture's ideas about war, then I suppose you could look at it like it was a thesis, but in my opinion, that is not a thesis because it doesn't say anything definitive, nothing clear. So you are doing an exploration, you are illustrating all sides of an argument, the multiple voices in the book that address the topic you supposed. So I hope that's clear. If not, keep probing me with more questions. It comes down to the difference between clear and specific and exploration. So then this part, are we supposed to write a thesis and add it to our project? No. You will be writing a thesis paper after you take a look at everybody's projects. I'll get back to you about that deadline. Would a regular poster board be okay? Yes, just as long as this is something that's creative and well thought out, that speaks for itself and explorative, then I'm totally behind all of your solutions. So I hope that you are embracing the lack of specific requirement, like you must make a poster board that does this, because I want your projects to speak to the topic you selected, like the example that I gave with the rope. That's why I'm not pinning you down. Okay, so I'm going to move on from this and go to Antigone, plays in theaters. So we're going to jump into some notes about this. You will eventually be having an open note quiz on it, so make sure you take some good notes. To get you into the correct realm, I want you to think about ancient Greece, the Parthenon, and so on. We're going to be learning about Greek tragedy specifically. So here's some pictures to get you in that mindset. It's crazy to me how everything looks so advanced, yet it was so long ago. How their water systems were functional but different. And this is what the area of the Parthenon looks like today. So, I'd like you to take out a sheet of paper and head the sheet of paper Greek tragedy, origins. So write Greek tragedy on the top of a note paper. I invite you to pause this at any time. Maybe take a volunteer to be the judge of when you need to pause, because I'm going to go pretty quickly and recommend some pausing points, but it's ultimately up to you. And we're back. So here's the note heading. Greek tragedy, Roman numeral 1, origins. So first you're going to learn about the festival of Dionysus. So I want you to think back to last year. Who is this god? Anybody? Anybody? Yep, that's right. He's the partying god. He and Bacchus, that's the Roman god, are the gods of wine. So this was a celebration that was held in Athens in late March. The whole city had a festival. So I want you to think about this idea of a city festival. Nothing that we have would amount to quite what it was like back then, because everybody in the festival had to attend. They had to go to this party. And one of the festivities in there was that there are 3 tragedies, a tragedy being a play, and we'll go into more specific definitions about that in a little bit. So you should write down Festival of Dionysus, 3 tragedies. One of the plays was a satyr. Satyr is spelled like this. And that formed what genre, you think, modern day? Not a tragedy. Something that's funnier, sort of looks like satyr. Yep, you got it, or I assume you do. Satire. So a satyr is something that's more like a satire. A satyr also happens to be a half man, half goat, but there's not a direct correlation to this sort of play. So in the festival, there were a couple of different players, people who had really important parts or roles in all of this. One of them, a poet. The poet wrote the plays composed the music, and acted. So a poet would write the plays themselves. It's like the author. He composed the music and sometimes he acted. So that's how it first started. It actually started off with this poet person going around and interacting with the crowd at large as an actor, as a person playing a role, maybe a goat man, for instance. And then it changed to include these other three parties, the state and the choragus. The state assigns the actor. So imagine that. It's like Obama is coming in and telling you that you have to act in a public play. So the state assigns the actors. The chorus, so that is a group of actors in the play that sort of comment on things. And any musicians they also employed. So pretty much what you have to know for the poet is that he or she wrote the plays, he wrote the plays and acted, and then the state was the one who assigned the actors and the musicians. The choragus is a wealthy citizen who paid for the cost of the play in honor of the Festival of Dionysus. So going to this festival, you should have these three things down. It served two needs of the people. Sorry for the dramatic pause there. One need is that it's a civic obligation, but it's also a religious obligation. So in terms of society, it is both a governmentally mandated thing. You have to go to this festival, citizen, but it's also a religious obligation. So it's you are honoring the god of Dionysus while going there. So as we read Antigone, that is the context in which this play was created. So I'm going to go into a couple more specific playwrights in just a second. Make sure you have those notes down or ask clarifying questions to your peers at this time. So the next bullet point for your notes is B, Thespis. Thespis was the father of drama. So remember a second ago I said that it used to be just one actor walking around and meeting and greeting people? Well, this guy, he was the one who created that. So Thespis is the father of drama because he used to portray a mythical figure and interact with the chorus and the dancers and the people at large, and he was really the person who coined the first plays accordingly. He was considered the first actor. So if you're ever on Jeopardy and somebody says, who's the first actor? Wait, no. Somebody says Thespis, you say father of drama. Who is the first actor? You with me? Great. He also made it a custom to have dipthrams. I will spell that for you. Now, a lot of these words that I'm going to be throwing at you, since they're in Greek and Greek letters are different, they have no exact English spelling. It's more of a translation of how we would say it verbally rather than spelling. So that's an approximate spelling of the word dipthrams. A diphthram is a song of praise or a hymn that's performed by the people in the play. So Thespis also created that, the song of praise or a hymn. It's actually, I think it's a vocab word. I can't remember if it's in level E or F, but it's a paean. So if that sounds familiar, or it will in the future, it's the same thing, a song of praise. So moving on to our less antiquated friends, Aeschylus came next. Aeschylus is the next person that you should write down. The only thing he really changed was that he developed a more sophisticated form where there was more of an emphasis on content and less on improvisation. More of an emphasis on content. Okay. And then last here, the Golden Age include the three great playwrights. So Aeschylus and Thespis were part of this time, but there's three big playwrights that are considered almost never quite to the realm of Shakespeare, but rather they're famous for the time period. One is Sophocles, and I want you to write a big asterisk next to him because he is the writer of Antigone. He actually added the third actor, whereas Aeschylus sometimes added a second. Thespis was the first. He was the one who added multiple actors. We already talked about Aeschylus, and the only other name that I would like you just to be able to not necessarily know anything about, but be able to reproduce is Euripides. I'm going to give you a new video here. I'm pushing my time limit.